okay.
Yeah, the time is wrong.
including my monument to get in the
All
floor.
right, I got 9 o'clock. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Right now, I've got Sherry Brusco online and Bruce Blatt, and I'll hand it over.
All right, I'd like to call the meeting to order, which Daniel already did. So we will start with the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty.
Oh, this is fun.
Yeah. Just a couple things that people would silence their cell phones. And we've been requested, this is Mark, before we talk, to loudly say what our name is so it can be recorded into the minutes, because they're having trouble picking some of them up. So roll call. Mark Eversman here.
Vince Pagetto,
Cindy
Here.
Watterson here.
Steve Keller here. And I believe Bruce Blatt is online, and I would like to, this is Mark, I would like to make a motion to accept Bruce Blatt into the meeting remotely.
Second the motion, Cindy Watterson.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Thank you. We have one person who submitted a public comment, but you want to wait till we get to that item, correct? Okay. We have approval of the minutes is the next item. So I wasn't here for the last meeting, so I didn't know if others had a chance to review the minutes and see if there were.
I read them.
State your name.
I'm sorry, Nancy Smith, motion to approve the minutes from last month.
I second the motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Financial report. This is Mark. What I did get from Laura is she's almost got last year trued up. And we ended up with approximately, and it's not final, but around 290,000 left in our budget from last year. I do not have a number for this year, but I would assume we're pretty much on budget because we're just doing the normal pretty much so far and have not done anything out of the ordinary. You're correct. Items for discussion. Landscape Subcommittee member selection recommendation. Nancy, how much did you cover? Did anybody cover this from last month? I was asked by the GSCDD to stagger our terms. And I selected, not based on performance or anything else, 3 people on the committee to come up for this year. I selected myself, Steve Keller, and Cindy Watterson. We then have to reapply for our positions if we wish to continue. It's normally a 2-year term, so the rest of you will come up next year then. So that way we don't lose potentially everybody all in one fell sweep. It would be just a partial replacement. I do not know. Well, first of all, I have elected to try to keep my position, as has Cindy. Steve Keller has decided that he would like to pursue other endeavors at this time. So he is elected not to re-up. I thought we had one person send in an application. Does anybody know anything about that?
The only people I'm aware of are what's in the attachments here.
Okay, I thought some other person at one time filled out an application. So where we are at this point is the board will make a recommendation as to whether or not Cindy and I will continue at the next meeting. And we are then short one person. So I would assume they will advertise again for volunteers to fill Steve's position. The other question which could be addressed is whether or not this group feels that 6 is an appropriate number. I would hesitate to go less than 6. but we do have the ability to go to 7 if we so desire. So in that case, they would advertise for 2 people to fill the positions. What is the discussion on that?
That sounds good.
Is that Steve Keller, is that a committee decision or would that be
The committee would make a recommendation for this group to go to either stay at 6 or go to 7. And then the board would decide what they felt was appropriate.
This is Nancy Smith, an odd number is always good, right? Because you get a tie on something worth discussing.
So again, this is Mark. I guess at this point, what I would like is for the GSCDD to send out another email or request the PPCA to send out an email, however that is done, to request people to fill 2 positions on the board, on our subcommittee, I should say. Do I have a motion on that?
I thought that was the
I thought,
motion.
yeah.
Okay.
Nancy, second.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any other discussions on that?
Not our fault that they're going, we still can't honor what they do.
Mark,
Okay.
Okay, so I'll keep going.
Mark, this is Georgia.
Yes, Georgia?
We're gonna need a vote to accept you and Cindy.
So, when I put this in on the quote, purchase quote, does it?
Did you hear me?
automatically Transfer?
Yes, we heard you.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
All right.
So you should have a-
Georgia, did you have any applicants
Okay, so there should
that
be-
weren't on the agenda item?
I did not have any applicants. The last applicant we had was in October. Did you hear me?
Be re-upped for another 2-year term.
Mark, this is Carol Hancock.
Yeah.
You might want to make a motion to recommend to PPAC that your committee go to 7 members.
We did do that.
Oh, you did? Okay, I'm sorry. Second step.
Any other discussion on membership at this time? Next on the items for discussion is an Aviano neighborhood park. And again, what would come from us is a recommendation. It's not this is the end of it and that's all there is to it, but we can make a recommendation. Where we are on this is, when I became involved with this, I asked for information as to what exactly we're supposed to be maintaining. Because the contract given to Ameriscape did not match up what Ameriscape was taking care of. And people have done a lot of work over a lot of time, primarily Bob Geppert, to find out what we were supposed to take care of, what we had the legal right to take care of, and what we were taking care of that nobody was quite sure why we were taking care of besides that we had done in the past. So when all is said and done, Bob's almost got this finished. There's just, I think, one more easement to obtain.
One more individual.
And it'll be done. I thank Bob for everything. Because what we ran into is, I consider our primary areas to go down Pelican Preserve Boulevard, tree line to the entrance for the most part, Cypress Grove, and then part of Prado. And what Ameriscape believed we were taking care of did not match that. And actually legally, what we found is we did not have the legal right to maintain all of those areas. There were gaps in what we had easements for. So it had just been done historically and that was it. So at one point, when Ameriscape was telling me what they were taking care of, I questioned him because it didn't match what the contract showed. And so then Bob proceeded. And one of the areas that we found we had a discrepancy on that we have been maintaining at the end of Aviano, there's a large area. It's a somewhat cul-de-sac, more of a park. There's a sidewalk through it. Pretty good sized area. And last year, for example, because of irrigation issues, the GSCDD dumped about 15,000 into that to fix things, to get irrigation, control fire ants. They got a new dog waste station, just a few other things like that. When we go through all this easement work that Bob's been working on, we find out we're not actually responsible for that area. So it's actually PPCA responsibility according to ownership. and things like that.
That's not what Bob told me when I came on board. And he checked with Tony and said, no, it's gateways. So we take care of the dog, stations, but that's the only thing I was told we need to take care of.
That's Bob.
Oh, yeah, what you said is exactly correct. However, when someone did the checking, it was unquestionably not GSCDD. Why?
Well, do we know?
My recommendation was free that we come up with it. I think we should, just from a consistency point of view. We've got all the other. However, that's one person. Legally, it does belong to the PPCA. Historically, the district has taken it, and that's why it's in the discussion.
So where we are on that is, as Bob said, we have historically taken care of it forever. As far as why we may consider not taking care of it, obviously when this was set up, we were given every cul-de-sac in here, except for that one. So somewhere in the development of this, they considered that not a typical cul-de-sac area and left it allocated to the PPCA. So the
Just
question,
Bob again, I wish that what you just said was true. I don't think WCF would have a spot.
well, for whatever
For
reason,
whatever reason, yeah.
that one area was not left
Correct.
for the GSCDD to take care of. Okay? And again, so my opinion, we have the ability to decide whether or not it is GSCDD responsibility versus PPCA responsibility. One other thing with that area, and I know Jen can attest to it, that the residents in that area detest Ameriscape to the point where Ameriscape was their HOA provider for services and Ameriscape fired them. They just said, we're done. And they quit servicing and they've got a new provider for their HOA. In dealing with those residents, they can be persistent, loud, sometimes rude, and just very confrontational, anything to do with Ameriscape, and they always feel, as my opinion, that they are not getting serviced the way they should be. So one thing I would say, if we decide we do wish to pursue this and keep maintaining it, I would like somebody else on the subcommittee to deal with those people, because I don't have the energy for that. I really don't. I mean, I'm trying to do a lot on this subcommittee, and that is just not grief that I need. So,
This is Nancy. I will absolutely take that.
okay.
Absolutely. But I will be out for 6 weeks, just so you know.
And,
Yeah.
and quite truthfully, I have not heard from them for a few months, but there are a couple people that are just, well,
411, I guess.
okay.
Good
All right.
morning, Carrie from Teresa. I am very upset with the words that you have just said. I'm a resident here. I'm on the board. And we are only asking for what we should get. This place, when we came in, was a mess. That is all we were asking for. I don't think we're rude. I don't think, I just think we have a voice.
Terry, this is
I
Nancy. I
back
think
to
you're
the-
right. I think you're absolutely right, that you should have a voice and that we should hold Ameriscape accountable. And I look at this as an opportunity to help you guys. So if you'll allow me to do that, I'd be happy to.
Okay, and I'd like to see all the documentation from Bob stating that the park is owned by the PPAC.
That's all public record, Mr. Bob. Just put it,
Okay.
requesting customer service at the district, and they'll provide that to you.
Perfect, I will do so. Thank you.
This is,
I still would like an apology for those words. That is very upsetting, and I will share that with the board.
I will apologize for that if you believe it's necessary, but I believe that you have been, not you personally, but I have received emails from people in your area that have been not requesting things, but extremely demanding that things be done immediately. And we're just a volunteer group. We're doing the best that we can. And I think we're doing pretty well in the community. And it just didn't seem like there was any patience on some of the documentation that was sent to us as to what was needed.
I think there's a difference between patience and open communication. So I think if you communicate with your folks or the residents a little bit more, I think you'll find a better response. And if you need another person to be on this committee, I would be happy to step forward.
All right, you can submit your application to the GSCDD
Okay,
and they will send out the form for that.
okay, perfect. And
This is
that
Bob again.
is,
Bob, yeah, I want to give you a little context. Until about 18 months ago, there was no landscape committee. Until about 18 months ago, we were totally at the mercy of the developer to make things done. So the purpose of this group is to correct the historically omitted items and things that weren't addressed.
correct.
So, yeah, I'm sympathetic to how long you've lived there, that it's been a mess. But there's a page turned last year, and now we've got an opportunity to make things better. So be a little bit patient for a short term. And that's all.
Absolutely. I have no problem. I think you guys have been doing a wonderful job. And when this committee was created, I had mentioned to Mark, I would have loved to have been on the committee. I do work full-time from home. I am on the Teresio board. I was on it last year and this year, and I'd like to be a little bit more active. I just can't do things during the day. I can attend these type of meetings with teams, but yeah, I just can't be in person. I can help on the weekends. I can help in the evenings. I don't know what, the rest of the job description just notes, but I'm here to help if you need someone.
And this is Nancy. My apologies. I did not get your full name. I have every intent of giving you a call in the next week. So if you want to give me your full name, I'll look you up in the directory.
Sure. Here, I'll give you my full name. It's Sherry Brusco. That's B as in boy, RUSCO. And my phone number is 239-309-8866. And I have been taking an active lead over the park since I moved in here almost 3 years ago. It was atrocious. Ameriscape wasn't not taking care of it. And they were not taking care of our property as well. They weren't fertilizing it. We caught them in tons of lies. We did end their contract, which was very abrupt. And we got American Legion in, who is doing a fantastic job fertilizing like they tell us they're doing, trimming, they're doing all kinds of projects. If you come by Aviano, you'll see the big difference in contractors. So, we just sort of left the park alone for the past couple months. We see them down there all the time, sitting under a tree for hours, doing nothing on their phone. We just took a blind eye because that's not our fight anymore. But I don't know now that at the PAC, if we own the park, is Ameriscape going to continue taking care of the park. Well, that's a big word, but overseeing the park. Now that it's not Gateway's responsibility.
Well, this is Mark again, and that's what we're trying to decide at this point, if the GSCDD should continue to maintain or ask the PPCA to start maintaining.
Okay.
So do we have more discussion as to what people on the,
So this is Nancy. I'd like to say that I'm seeing a precedent being set in some cases, and we should continue. This is my opinion, where we have areas along the main drag that are being transferred to the GSCDD because it makes sense, right? It makes sense. They own most of it, so let's add a couple more. The GSCDD has been monuments, cul-de-sacs, roundabouts. There's also it's almost like a triangle area. I don't even know what you want to call it in Prado that the GSCDD owns. And it would make sense to me to add this to our portfolio.
This is Bruce.
Go ahead,
Hello?
Bruce.
Sorry. The question is, before we go further with resolving the Aviano Park, I know the next item is Sienna. I mean, if we do it for one, we need to be consistent and do it for all. Have we resolved the Sienna issue yet?
Bruce, this is Bob again. I'll answer that. On the advice of attorney, we do not own that land. We should not be maintaining it. It was an error. This is not something that we've reached consensus on between the Sienna residents, PPCA, the golf course, and the district. But the district took the position that it is not ours. We are not doing it. Everything related to Sienna, including their road, is theirs. It is not district property. We cannot spend public funds on it. So that decision's been made. Now, who's going to take care of it? That's subject to.
No, the decision has happened.
It's made by the district.
can we talk about that the next
We
agenda?
can. But that is, the district sent the letter out saying.
Okay. I appreciate the answer, Bob. I just wanted to make sure we were consistent in our thinking. One thing I wanted to add about Aviano. First, I've been living here 7 years. I don't live anywhere near Aviano. I'm at the other pretty much end of the development. And I did my little walking tour of Aviano this week. And I was approached by 3 or 4 residents asking what I was doing there, sitting there. If this is open to the public, we need to let everyone know that Aviano exists, that it's just not a personal playground for a select few. I was very put off by a couple of the people who approached me. I one day walked down there and just stood there while a woman pulled up in a golf cart to walk her dog. And they use it as their own private playground. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind. As a resident of Pelican, I should have every right to be there without being challenged. I wasn't doing anything out of the ordinary other than walking around it, walking through that footpath, which I had never seen before, and making myself familiar. So to be told that we're acting inappropriately in our way we verbalized, I think an apology is due to me and a volunteer board member, that if I'm a Pelican Preserve resident, I should not be challenged for walking through what will become a community playground or whatever you want to call it. And I was very put off by that. So I take I'm a little annoyed that it was even brought up that we used the wrong language when I was attacked worse than that. They basically wanted to know where I left my car. And I said, I walked down here. I didn't. And I'm a resident of Matarita too. And I wish I had a park like this to use. So let's cool our heels, everybody, and just worry about our development as a whole and not individualize the arguments. Thank you.
This is Sherry. I would like to say that I'm sorry that that had occurred. We always call it a community park here. We do not even call it a dog park. It is a park that is owned by Pelican and should be shared with the total 100% of the community. The only thing I could say is that I think the people that might have approached you, they might have wanted to see if you were the new owners that came in. We had about 3 new owners come in, and everybody's always excited to meet them. And I do know one who has a dog. So that might have been where that conversation was leading to. Not that this, I've never had anybody say that this park is for Aviana residents, ever. I've never said that. I never heard of anyone saying that. So that's the only thing I could say is I wouldn't take it personally. I think it was more excitement to see whether you were the new owner across the street. Thank you.
Sherry, just to address that, no, they never singled out as Aviano as the owners of the property, but I wish I met you versus one of the women in particular. And let's go on from there. There's other issues.
Yeah. Anytime I live across from the park, anytime I'm at 9275, please stop by. I'd love to meet everybody on this board, and we'll get through this together. Thank
That's
you.
all. That's all I ask. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Conveyance, and then when you want to cease maintenance.
We just do.
Yes.
Okay, this is Mark again. Is there further discussion on whether or not we wish to retain maintenance of the Aviano area in question?
This is Steve. I have a question. Who actually does the work?
The mayor's team.
Okay,
Well, there are contractors.
yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, and that's not an issue, I guess, at this point.
Well, it sounded like it was an issue, but
Yeah, but
that
it's our
can be resolved.
it's our
I have no doubt that will be.
responsibility.
So I would like to make a motion that the district retain responsibility for the Aviano Park.
This is Bob. I said, make the motion that the district gets an easement from the community association for landscape.
This is Nancy, I make such motion. That the district obtains the easement from the Aviano Park.
Easement for license agreement.
The license agreement. Thank you.
This is Steve Keller. I second the motion.
all right. Vote on Nancy's motion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. We will seek an easement to legally maintain the Aviano Park. Next up on the agenda, which it sounds like we have a lot of discussion for, is the Sienna landscape maintenance discussion. And again, this is another area that came up in my discussion with Javier when I asked him why we were maintaining this as it was not on the contract map. He said approximately 7 years, Castle told him to start maintaining it. So he did. He was not given rationale, but he did basically what he was told by the people that paid his bills. So, and that's where the history of this started, is he was doing so under instruction from Castle. And he said it was not from the beginning that it was GSCDD responsibility, but 7 to 8 years ago, he was informed that it was. Since then, Chelsea of the GSCDD has sent a letter to the PPCA saying that she did not believe that it was in the GSCDD's interest to continue to maintain that area. And with the date of March 14th, I believe, as to when we would cease to do so. And I was given the understanding that that was the decision that the GSCDD made and that this was more of an informational topic for this group. But evidently not all are in agreement with that opinion. So I would open it up to the floor for discussion at this time.
This is Bob, and I'd like to just make one clarification. There's really two parcels in this sand landscape. The first parcel runs from the butterfly garden along the wall in the interior portion up to about where the monuments are. That is one separate entity that I believe right now is PPCA. And then the separate entity is the area surrounding the pond in front of the Sienna building from the parking lot to the fence. And that is the area that's owned, I believe, by Heritage Golf. And Heritage was given the opportunity, we had a couple of meetings to take that over.
November 1.
And, okay, I've had more than one, you had one. And they declined that opportunity. So that's what led to Chuck. We tried to resolve this. And it was unsuccessful. So that's, I'll be quiet.
Okay.
This is Jen Lewis with KW. I've had some communications with Mayor State. First of all, the letter went to Sienna condos and they have nothing. They don't have a dog in the fight. They don't own any of the land, so I'm not sure why Gateway sent a letter to them because it's obviously it's us and Garrett. So I'm a little confused on the lake easements here. So it's my understanding that Heritage Golf owns the lakes, correct?
They don't almost every lake in California.
Okay, and then Gateway has a landscape maintenance easement.
No, Gateway has a lake maintenance.
Lake maintenance, okay. But we do have from our attorney a map here, and there's a bigger, should be a bigger one somewhere on the back. So if you look at yeah, so I kind of blew it up for everyone. So this map that's highlighted in red, that was the original map that was given to, I believe, Ameriscape and Gateway, and it's actually got two parcels that are blended into this section here. So this is not correct. This map's got two parcels, two ownerships. So that's what we're probably trying to figure out is how do we get this separated? In your packet, I do have from LIPA, the actual blue, it's like in a blue, this one. So this one shows us what Pelican Preserve owns. It's a little convoluted, but so we actually on our RFP do take care of everything along tree line for Ameriscape's landscape easement. So what we need to do is, first of all, Sienna doesn't need to be in the middle of this because they don't own any of these parcels. I'm not sure why they got the letter. So what we need to define here is who's taking care of the lake maintenance easement? How far out is that maintenance? Is it a 10-foot?
I think it's 12 feet.
12 feet around the lake. But our attorney states that CDD has that, you know, the lake maintenance easement. So,
Which has nothing to
but
do
you
with
also
lake.
have the easement here. We're taking care of the entrance monument. Right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
Pelican Preserve here. The monument's at the corner.
Yeah.
You're already taking care of that. You're taking care of the easement along Pelican Preserve Boulevard. And I would imagine you're taking care of some of this around the lake. So you do have two parcels that you're maintaining in between that lot. Then the other thing is the taxes are already, the budget's already been done for 2024. The homeowners of Pelican are already paying for those taxes. Why are we pulling it back in the middle of a fiscal year? Why do we not wait till the end of the year?
This is really not a problem.
Okay, I'm just throwing it out there.
Informational, but it's a dispute between the district and BTCA.
We do have the landscape easement here for the monument, so that little jut out.
Right.
The process is, the landscape is absolutely should be looking at.
No, it is not district land. It is not district land. We keep saying the wrong things, but
Why am I saying the wrong thing?
it's not district land. It's private land.
But what I'm saying is that my understanding is that all matters relative to the right, and district assets, which I hear you saying, you concluded, right?
District has.
That is, that's right. But the district has been making it has been part of the work that the district does. It is part of the contract. As of the game here are being developed as we go along.
And to some extent, you're absolutely right. But the very different thing between somebody's front lawn, Sienna's front lawn, and a park in the middle of a road.
I'm not sure I agree.
Well, I understand we respect you, but that's where we,
So then this matter you're saying should not have been brought before that.
informational only, but it's not going to be adjudicated here.
So I also have a quick question. So this is Nancy Straw. Again, I go back to a point Jen made. Why was this letter sent to Sienna? The community association has not received notification of this. It went to Sienna. And they're not even a property owner of this, any of these
I thought it
parcels.
went to all three, but I thought it went to Heritage.
You can look at the top of the letter. It's
UPCA.
addressed to
It's
Sienna.
addressed to Sienna. I got a copy by email.
Okay,
So this is Daniel. I don't know the answer to that, but as Chelsea comes back off of vacation next week, I will definitely get an answer for you. Yeah.
All the state. Because of the meeting that we had it in one formal.
Yeah, we had one meeting, and in that
One
meeting,
formal.
it was told to everybody in the meeting that was off or something.
That's
So we
true.
didn't even have all of the right information at that time, and there was no subsequent meeting with the PCA at all. There was, the next thing we got was a copy of the letter that went to, let's see.
And there were two parcels we talked about that. The first is the PPCA portion along the wall to the road. That was you. And then the other portion is the front lawn of Sienna. And Heritage was there, and they declined to accept the responsibility. So, yeah, I would, probably, the letter should have gone there. But since it most impacts Sienna, that's why.
This is Nancy. Is it okay for me to ask a question about this information?
Well, sure.
So I think what I've heard, and I'm trying to understand this correctly, is that the community members paid for this year for CBD fees to maintain that property. And I guess what I'm hearing, you're saying, okay, well, it's not ours, we don't want to maintain it. So the question is, would what they paid for this year get reimbursed back to the PPCA to manage that property? Because that way it seems to me like it would be, if not, then why aren't we looking?
Okay, and one of the discussions that took place in the meeting that I was at with the PPCA people is if we had determined at that meeting that this would be resolved somewhere, not involving the district, that the district would be willing to finish out the contract year. But the answer we got back was no. We're still not agreeing to it at the end of this year's period.
That is not, that's not true.
That's
That is
exactly what was said.
you asked.
So anyway, the answer is, and we're still probably willing to do that. But why put off the fight till a later time? Let's just have it now. Okay, if we're gonna have to resolve it at the end of the contract year, why not resolve it now? Because they were, at that time, I left that meeting with the clear impression they were not willing to say that it would be resolved at the end. So that's the problem.
Okay. One more question if I may.
Sure.
So it sounds to me, I just make sure I'm digesting it, that the PPCA says, okay, fine, we'll take it, give us the money from the CDD fees so we can maintain it. You're saying that PPCA has not agreed moving forward following this year.
I don't
that they-
understand what you say, Don, say that again.
Okay, so I think what I said earlier was that the residents have paid in their CDD fees to maintain that.
You and I. not Seattle.
All residents.
All residents. It's all
But not for that,
residents.
we
Every resident
collectively
in the
is
community.
paying for that so long.
Right, so there's some monies that has been paid for that's dedicated to maintaining that the rest of the year. Right? Okay. So budgeted for. So PPTA says, okay, we'll take it, but whatever money was budgeted for it, please reimburse us so we can manage that this year. It sounds like you're saying, it seems reasonable. And then I think what you're saying is, the only condition of that is that you need verification from
Assurance.
PPTA, assurance verification, that at the end of this fiscal year, after we've given them whatever the dollar amount is to maintain it for this year, that they will take it on moving forward within their own budget. I think that's what I'm hearing.
Well, that's one of the proposals, but that had nothing, that was not from Chelsea, that was from Bob.
There was no proposal. I was only.
Well, it was a proposal, in I think, I said it, I meant it.
You said that you would give us the money back.
Never. Never.
Okay, well, that's-
He gave me some money.
Well, that's what she's saying.
No, that's not what she said. What she's saying is,
I'd have
at
to ask Laura.
the end of, tell me about
Yeah.
at the end of this year, the district's out, period. No money going anywhere.
No, I'm saying for this fiscal year, since the residents paid in, all residents paid in to maintain that area by the GSCDD, if the GSCDD does not want to continue to maintain in this fiscal year, which has been paid for by all residents, then that portion of dollars should be given to PPCA to maintain it for the rest of the year.
You're asking for
Otherwise, it's
public
double
money to
dipping.
get into a private, can't happen.
What can it be reimbursed to the residents?
So we
No,
also said.
no, what
It
happens
would
is
still stay in their fund and used.
If I may,
It's
our
not
ask,
spent, it's stayed.
our ask, 5 times now since that letter came out, was for the district to just agree to continue servicing that parcel of land through the rest of the year. Who takes it on, whether it were us, Sienna, or whatever, it shouldn't matter. What we're asking for is since we funded it, just continue to maintain it until the end of this review.
And what happens next year?
At that point in time, it's ours to do, because you've made it
I'm
perfectly
perfectly
clear.
willing to do that. I wasn't, I've always been.
I've sent that request 5 times, Bob.
Well, once Chelsea got into it, I got that.
Sounds like we have an answer.
And the answer is, and it's just me personally, not really, is that if that projection went to that, I think Chelsea.
Well, Chelsea said it would go into the landscaping committee, and then it would go from the landscaping committee to PPAC, and then
She
PPAC to the
didn't tell
board
me.
of supervisors.
She didn't
Yes.
not tell me.
That is why
This
we're
was-
here, and that's why it's on the agenda.
Well, I'm gonna-
So how about this? Can I make a motion that, can I make the following motion? That this committee approved going to the full committee to request that we maintain the land for the rest of the fiscal year since the tax dollars are already there for it. And at the end of this fiscal year, this property will no longer be the responsibility of the GSCDD. And it is up to PPCA to figure out what to do with it moving forward.
You have something?
Through March 14th.
This is Mark. We would have to make just a recommendation that
Yes,
that be considered.
yes.
That's perfect.
So Nancy has a recommendation. Do we have a second?
I second, Vince Pagetto, I second the recommendation.
Okay. Take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? So again, a recommendation will be made for PPAC to maintain that property through the end of our contract year. And at that point, it would go to the responsibility of whoever the current owners are.
Correct. End of story.
Oh, it's a big-
Okay,
That was easy.
next up for discussion is the final renewal for landscape maintenance contract with Ameriscape. Ameriscape has another final year on the contract that they did. there are a couple addendums because we now have that back entrance that they maintain some of that, so that was an adder that we put on. We will receive a little bit, the area that we just discussed. I think Ameriscape estimated that it cost $4,000 a year or something like that to maintain that area. So I would assume that that would somewhat offset the area and back that we're adding in if we eliminate another area.
Cindy Watterson, it stated 9420 annually.
That was, I believe, Aviano and I think it was two properties together,
Okay.
actually.
It's not.
Yeah,
stated on
it
the-
was, Aviano, I think, ended up around 5,400 a year.
Yeah,
And then Sienna was the balance.
okay.
So I would make a motion. Is there any further discussion on whether or not we should renew or final renewal on Ameriscape's contract for the upcoming year?
This is Bruce.
Go ahead, Bruce.
I think we need to administer the contract better than we have. I mean, I went through the contract and, for example, I find, particularly, trees or canopies that hang over roadways. They're supposed to be trimming those up to 14 feet and a diameter of 14 inches. And as we all drive around, we see there are trees that are hanging lower than those with branch dimensions less than that. And I don't think they're really doing what they should be doing on a regular basis. I also read in the contract, any dying flowering growth, similar to the variegated gingers are supposed to be, trimmed as needed. I think we've all witnessed things like that haven't been done. What are we going to do to put a fire under Ameriscape to live up to their contract? I mean, on page 18 of the contract, it clearly states that they're, the 15 foot height is, as needed. Who's going to tell them it's time, it's needed? Because certainly they're not doing stuff like that. Also, we discussed at the last meeting about sod replacement. They said they couldn't find sod. Well, my next door neighbor just finished their pool, and a tractor trailer just this week pulled up full of sod. So if a big vendor like Ameriscape can't get sod, how could a pool builder able to get sod? So I think we need to administer these contracts a little tougher.
Hi, Bruce, it's Nancy. Couple things, as needed is very subjective. There hasn't been one time when I've seen a branch that's hanging over and put a ticket in, they haven't come around to cut it. I just think they're being more reactive than proactive.
But not to debate this with you, Nancy, but it's not my job to put in tickets. It says as is. So obviously supervision is lacking. And yes, it is subjective, but I'm not going to stand there with a measuring stick. It's obvious that some of these low-lying branches, particularly along the major roadways, are much lower than they should be. And if they did their job correctly, we wouldn't be having this discussion.
Bruce, it's Nancy again. I'm meeting with them next week and a whole bunch of other matters, so I will absolutely bring this up. And I'm sorry, I guess we have to keep an eye to see if they change.
Yeah, no, and I'll be back if, I know we can't meet privately and go through it, but the point is I'll be back on Monday and I certainly could go around and give you a list. So when you meet with them, you'll have it.
I'm meeting with them on Tuesday, so you know. In addition, I do know a little bit about what's been going on with the sod in the area. Because of the heavy rains that we normally get in the summer and that in the winter, the sod farms have had a difficult time cutting sod. I have seen trucks come in this week, which I expected, the week of the 22nd, including Ameriscape, with sod on their trucks.
You just look at the funds.
Yeah, they just reopened them up this week, so
Okay,
that's probably why you weren't seeing any sod. We have a lot of people waiting on sod that are getting it now.
Cindy
Okay.
Waters, question. How does the 3-year contract compare to the last price we had?
I believe it had a 2 or 3% escalation in it.
It was 3.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I make a motion, Cindy Watterson, to accept and move forward with the contract for Marescape.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion passes. I guess I have a question. I'm not really sure. If we do not believe that the contractor is following the contract appropriately or to our satisfaction, even if we have been in communication with them about things that need to be done, what is our recourse during a contract year?
Yeah. Notification of audit and yeah, put them on notice for performance. Yeah.
I mean, we have,
And then from there, it's a documentation process of failures to meet the contract scope. And then eventually, if it does not get addressed or remedied, a cancellation of the contract.
and this is Mark, and I agree with Bruce that they are not doing everything as the contract states. I do believe they are doing better than they used to, which I think the bar was pretty low when we started this. They do have a trash pickup group now, which I'm not saying they do a perfect job. And I have been on to Javier about removing volunteers that grow up in hedges as opposed to just trimming them so they are the same height as an existing hedge. Just various things like that. And he seems receptive. Sometimes I feel like we make progress and sometimes not so much. But I do believe overall we have made progress on this. We still have a ways to go. I'm not denying that. My perception of what I see from other landscapers that work in here in other areas is it is kind of the standard operating procedure where they do what they have to until somebody complains, and then they may try and do better, at least for a while. But very few people, I believe, get exactly what they have designed in their contract. My opinion.
Nancy, I'm just gonna make one comment. I know nobody wants to manage a landscaper. It's their job, right? But unfortunately, I do believe we have the best of the worst. And it is up to us, in some respects, to help them grow and be a better landscaper for us. I certainly have spent close to, just in Prado, 40 hours a week managing them to the point where I am down to about 15. They know what I expect of them, but I did have to be on their case all of the time for a while. And so that's one of the reasons I was requesting, if nobody minds, I'm going to bring some of this stuff up Tuesday because I sit on both. I sit on one committee here and a board over there. So if no one has an objection, I'm certainly going to voice my opinion to them about what we think they should be doing better for Gateway.
This is Bruce again. I do agree that Ameriscape has picked up their game. Case in point, when we started bringing up the broken sprinkler heads that were going on and weren't getting repaired, and we learned the system, I have to give them credit. As soon as it was reported, within 24 hours, the sprinklers were taken care of. If the procedure is to inundate Javier with tickets, I mean, he knows me by my ticket name already. So I'll be willing to do it. Walk around, and as I see, if it's not done after your walk around with him, Nancy, I'm going to start inundating him with trimming restrictions. Is everybody in agreement with that?
This is Mark. I'm fine with that. I mean, it is the contract.
Mhm.
Okay.
We're good.
We're good?
Oh, yeah, no, because sometimes I've pulled up on his car and he'll actually leave when he sees me getting out of the car. And I know it's being done intentionally, and I won't stand for that, especially that we're renewing his contract. So he's gonna have to be held to a higher standard now, or just to the standard in his contract. So I'm gonna start being a pain in his rear end.
That'll be a few of us.
If you guys need assistance, I'm here too.
Okay, thank you.
This is Mark again. Just so everybody knows, a few things that I've been after Javier to take care of are the dead bougainvilleas that were recently planted. Well, bougainvilleas that have died from our recent planting. I told him about those probably 4 months ago. I followed up with him. He said they got some in, but they were the wrong colors, so they couldn't plant them. But again, that was 2 months ago. It shouldn't be that difficult to get in that color bougainvillea. So, and that is something that the residents notice because they're in the median, so they drive down, they notice that they're dead or missing. The other area, which Nancy's very familiar with, is the tree on Grosseto Court. I specifically ordered a field grown to get size. He gave us something that could have been grown in a 3-gallon pot, which I questioned him on that. He said he had not seen it, but he would look at it and get back to us. But again, some of this has just been a little disappointing about not getting what we paid for. The trees that have died in the median on Cypress Grove, I've informed him that we're expecting replacements on those, which he has agreed to, but again, that was 2 months ago. So we're still waiting on those.
And then there's one I'm proud of that too.
Yep.
I want to bring all this stuff up. Now, one of the things, this is Nancy again, one of the things that I really insist on with him is not just that he agrees to it, but I want to date. Give me a date.
And maybe that's something that we've been lacking in the past. We inform him of issues, but don't give him a date, and therefore sometimes it can go an extremely long time. So Nancy will follow up on that. Is there any other discussion of things we'd like Nancy to bring up to Ameriscape at this time?
And this is Nancy. I will send a note to Georgia after the meeting with Ameriscape next week to disseminate out to all of you. So you know what's going on.
Okay,
Okay?
next item, member items and reports. Advance notice of missed meeting attendance.
Yeah, that's me. I actually have 2 items, and if it's okay, I'd like to do both of them at the same time. I'm going to be out starting February 13th. I will not be at the meeting in February. I may or may not be at the meeting in March. It was suggested that I officially give notice of this so you guys don't throw me off the committee.
Okay,
So I'm officially giving notice that I will not be here in February and maybe or maybe not in March, but I'd like to retain my position on the committee. I don't think we need a motion for that. It was just suggested by Laura that I do that.
okay.
Okay,
Thank you, Steve.
thank you. Just trying to follow the rules. All right, the other thing that I did put through and somehow it got lost is last meeting, we went through the GSCDD owned monuments and cul-de-sacs, landscaping maintenance replacement policy. And it was brought to my attention that there were 2 things that folks wanted me to change. One was that I mentioned roundabout, which I shouldn't have, and that was correct, so I corrected that. And also, I was asked to put in the bottom, let me give you guys this. Pass these around. This is from the policy. What's highlighted in yellow is what I was asked to change. And then would you pass one of these around as well? So what I was asked to put in the bottom is a note that says, if approved, refer the HOA POA to the ACC guidelines, which contain suggested plants, flowers, and trees until such time there is a broader policy. which I was fine with because of the word suggested.
Mhm.
So I was also asked to put together a form that people can fill out, one per cul-de-sac or one per monument. And then this would be submitted not to a person because people change, but to customer care at gatewaydistrict.org, and then they would get it tomorrow. So I'm asking for two things today. I'm asking that we approve the second time of me revising the policy for cul-de-sac and monument. And I'm also asking, unless Mark's, I'm sure you're going to see this, because it wasn't in the packet, that we approve the form to be filled out by the president of the HOA, okay, or the president of the POA that would go to this email address. And then Georgia would, whoever manages this email address would send these on to Mark. For now.
Cindy Watterson, make a motion to accept both your form for the request of funding and your updates to the landscape maintenance replacement policy.
Anything missing from here from your perspective, Mark?
No, it's more than what we have gotten.
Okay,
Just makes it neater.
okay. And I did put out for each. So if you have more, if a neighbor has more than one monument and they want to, then have to fill out two forms. Okay.
Do we have a second?
Vince Pajero, I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion passes. As a note to that, I had sent out a list of HOAs that had requested funding at this time that were in progress. And another one I would like to add to that list is Bellagio. I don't know who is the keeper of the list or how that works. I was asked to generate one for everybody, and
I don't believe I've seen that.
I don't see it either.
okay, I generated one and sent it to Georgia because I was
email.
it's just got to be done in the fiscal year. So that kind of puts them.
Yeah.
All right, next up on the agenda is district issued email addresses. And I'm not sure who's taking that, as I know nothing about besides that we were going to talk about it.
Okay. As Daniel, I'll talk about it. Across the board, just trying to open up lines of communication with taking away from personal emails and flooding inboxes with your committee's items, plus also making it public record. So the district's already taken it upon themselves to create mailboxes for each and every member of a committee, including their chair and vice chair, all the way through the other committee members. And it's just an effort to streamline all the communications going to specifically that. Also, it's not tied to a name, so there's continuity. When Nancy decides she wants to vacate a seat, that email address now gets transferred to whoever replaces her. Not that you're going anywhere anytime soon. No, none of that.
This is a 55 and older community.
But there was a couple ambulances in the community today I worry about. Again, creating a system of continuity just so that when we pass the baton off to the next person, that there's a email there and that it's just a way to stay in the know, very easy for the district to know who they're emailing, especially across all of the subcommittees and PPAC, of all the members that we have to keep track of, and the way that Georgia communicates with the committee members and myself. So in your hands, you should have a kind of quick step guide on how to get to and access the emails and what your password and everything else is.
Cindy Waterston, quick question. So this, all of our communication from Georgia will go here now
Correct.
and not our personal?
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
That way we're also trying to clean up the legal lines as well, so that public record. So be mindful of the things that you email. I will just say that email etiquette, just because now it'll be public record across the board. Georgia, do you have any comments? Hearing none, moving forward.
With one question, Daniel, how will I be able to secure those instructions?
I will make sure that you get a copy, Bruce.
Thanks a lot.
All right, I'm assuming we all have to abide by sunshine laws, even though we have these email addresses now.
Absolutely.
And I guess would be good to have a somewhat master sheet so we know who everybody is, as opposed to number 1, 2, 3, 4, at least at this point. So
I'll take care of that.
all right. Does anybody have any questions on this? If you could all get signed in, and I guess I'll have to notify Ameriscape as well to start using this email address as opposed to the one they have been using.
Yes.
All right, next up, easement recommendation, and I think we've beaten that topic to death at this point through the other discussions that we've had. Ameriscape planting update, which we've also kind of gone through, which was mainly concerns that I've had about some of their performance. When I did talk to Javier, he did mention that he was out of town, and I think things go a lot better when Javier is around to look over things. Last thing on the set agenda are Christmas decorations. We made it through the Christmas season, and the decorations went somewhat well. It was seemed to be a Pelican preserve catastrophe when the garland fell down after it was hit by a Ameriscape. That I think over 100 Facebook posts were made regarding that. And Brimmer, the company that did put up the decorations, ended up coming out, putting the garland back up, and I do not believe we got a bill for that because we just got the final invoice and there was nothing on there for it. So thank you to them for saving Pelican from that travesty. That all being said, what I would like to do is ask for somebody to take over. Why Christmas decorations are part of landscaping, I'm not sure, but it is. I think it's one of those where they didn't know where to put it, and we got it.
I think it falls into the fact that you own the monuments. So, and typically the decorations are reflected around the trees and landscape and the monuments as well. So that's why.
So that being said, Brimmer has done this for, I think, several years. I'm not sure. There are other vendors out there. Brimmer, I've generally been happy with what they have done, except for the fact that this year they did have some electrical issues, which they did not cover their extension cords. Therefore, GFIs started tripping. Therefore, the lights would not work. Therefore, people would be unhappy. And I mean, it could have been done better.
Yeah. Weather guarding of all the strips should definitely be a focus area next year when you're looking at it. I know I had a lovely time trying during the holidays to get people to react to holiday lights. And not that I was going to say it was not a priority, but there was also safety issues across the board with street lighting So I had competing interests.
So all that being said, what I would like is for someone to volunteer to be the Christmas lighting person for next year. And hopefully somebody with access to Facebook because, well, no, I'm truly serious because that's where you really hear what the residents have to complain about as far as how things are being done.
We might discover issues that we didn't know about, I guess.
Cindy Waterston, I'll step up for the Christmas
Okay.
decoration.
And thank you, Cindy. And this is something that Bob Geppert gave to me as somebody volunteered from another community company that they use that they've been very happy with. I'm not suggesting we're not happy with Brimmer. I mean, obviously improvements could be made, but if someone can do just as good or more for the same price, then obviously we'd want to consider that. The budget for our Christmas lighting is $25,000. So it's not pocket change by any means. So
And how do I get Brimmer's all their information for next year? During the course of the year, I'll get that, or am I in direct contact with them to
You-
do this?
that's what I would like you to
Yeah.
do. And
Yeah.
I can send you their contact information so you
Okay.
can begin a dialogue.
Sounds good.
And
In the
if,
previous year's contracts, I can get from Randy.
Thank you.
and if you have any input as to where you thought they were potentially deficient, such as not covering, if you'd let Cindy know, so.
Absolutely.
I've made notes on the waterproofing already.
Okay.
Listen to this.
Next meeting agenda will be for latter part of February. Nancy has already indicated she will not be here. Steve will not be here because he's going to leave our happy little group. Hopefully we can get some people to volunteer to be on the subcommittee. And we will be able to field a quorum. Because if Nancy and Steve are not here, that kind of leaves the,
Oh, there's-
right.
I'll be
well,
there.
Okay. Again, I don't want to be in a position where we can't do anything because it takes a while if you wait for the committee meeting anyway. So, and if you do have items for the next meeting, there is a form for you to fill out and send in to Georgia. And then you have to fill that out at least 1 week prior to the meeting. So it gets posted appropriately. And,
So agenda items are locked at 7 days in.
Yeah.
Because of the posting and having to notify.
and normally only I and some Nancy are the ones putting in agenda items. So anybody else that has things would be appreciated.
And where do we find the form? Cindy
Uh,
Waterston.
We will have Georgia send it to your new email
Thank
addresses.
you. Thank you.
I got a pile.
Any other discussion for today's meeting at this time?
Yes, this is Bruce. I just noticed one item in the minutes from the last meeting. It was incorrectly reported that the bench installations were, one was on pond 31. I think it was picked up wrong. It's pond 51, 5-1.
Yeah, Bruce, I wanted to speak about that before we called it.
Okay.
I'm still waiting back on some concrete quotes for that. And I'll have a number hopefully for the next meeting for you for
Okay.
proposals. And then we recognized that when we were going through. So we caught that one before we even started trying to get proposals.
I appreciate it. Thanks, Daniel.
Yes, sir. Do you have any agenda items that you would like on next meeting?
Not that I know of at this time, unless you think we'll have something on the benches.
I know there'll be something for the benches and I'll make sure that goes in.
That will be on the agenda item for next time, as well as an update from Nancy on Ameriscape and the progress that she has made with them.
I'll come for an email from me to Georgia this month. so-
Okay. Okay. I make a motion, we adjourn.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're out of here.